we're going to do here, we're just going to try to take this airbox out, get the carburetor off, and clean it up pretty good. So actually, first thing you're going to do here is, on this one obviously, you're going to press this yellow button in here, pull that down, take your air filter out, sit it off in a nice place where you're not going to lose it. The next spot is you're going to need these Allen keys. I don't know what size it is. I got this one right here from the other one. I'm just going to assume it's more of a generic one. And hopefully we fit. And we're in. So it's up to you to find. Well, actually, hold on, I'll find the size real quick. Got mine off, and what I did was I took the 2 screws, put them back through the holes on the inside. I'm going to flip this latch up. Flip it up. Let me get these. Make sure your screws are all the way through the bottom here, so you can see. Sorry, it's kind of hard to do. Alright, now they're both through all the way. I should be able to snap that shut, and I won't be able to lose those 2 screws. They're pretty important. Now next, alright, those are holding your carburetor on. Careful about your gasket back here. Okay, now as you gotta do, you really don't have to, well, be easy when you're getting your throttle cable off. Should just snap out like I just did there. I don't know if you've seen that. Right here's your throttle cable hookup, sort of like a S or something. It's gonna go through this hole here. Mine just popped right on its own. Alright, now you're gonna need some small vice grips or something to clamp down that holds their own, as in has like a spring tension. I'll show you an example right here. Here's these vice grips. What I'm gonna do, take these get fuel lines off. Mine doesn't have a lot of fuel in it, but if you have a lot of fuel in your tank, either drain it out or try to clamp your line. A little advisory message here is, if your lines are old, especially right around here, like these have some fluid in them sometimes, you're not going to get as dry rot, but up here around your, I guess, nipple, you want to say, that wasn't funny, but there'll be a little bit more dry rot up here on this little peg coming off. So yeah, be careful, you'll split your line, but if you're replacing it, it shouldn't matter. I just advise dumping your tank out first. I'm not going to, I don't have a lot of fuel in there. So I'm going to get these hose lines off and I'll get back to you. As you can see, I couldn't get my lines off. They're on there pretty good. After a while, they're going to seal themselves on there pretty good. I recommend using a small screwdriver to try to pry them up, or maybe give them those pliers. Just be careful on these. I'm going to leave mine on there because it looks like I can actually access everything with these lines still on there. Plus, when I take this off, I should be able to get this one off. This hose off. So, what I'm going to do first, more than likely, I'm just going to take this thing down piece by piece. Your diaphragm is going to be under this one right here, so be very careful. And then everything else should be under this side here, so I'm going to go ahead and take this one off first. So, I'll get back to you. Another word of caution, your hands are going to get a little bit dirty for this, but that doesn't bother me. On this particular model, you got your little pump primer bulb here, and that looks like it's in a separate piece on this carburetor. You can see the gasket separates it. My bigger hose goes to that one, and the smaller hose goes to the main carburetor body itself. So just remember that, or you'll have a lot of problems. Alright, I got a primer bulb and assembly off here. I'd lay everything out how it came off the carburetor, as I saying, like, I took the screws out first, then this came off, and then the bulb came out, and then the gasket came off. And when I try to keep this in the orientation, it came off. As you can see though, it has 2 holes for screws, so it can only go in one way. Just be careful to remember which way these went. So this here's your gasket and your reed valves. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know if this is just one, or these should separate. If not, then they're in one. I can't really tell right now with one hand. Some have 2, some have them in together. So I'm assuming, I don't know. But this is your reed valves and a gasket right here in one. They might be just stuck together. Careful from now. Unless you're replacing it, I'd be very careful with this. As you can see, there's a lot of small holes here that need to be cleaned out, like all these. Clean down in your throttle area here, throttle and throttle and choke. And then next I'm going to take this diaphragm off. So I'll get to you when I'm done. Okay, with this bottom plate here, you can see it goes on a special way, because it has this piece. And just remember how mine goes on there or something else, so this piece comes out along the same side as this does. So it would lay on there if that piece, this part right here, coming across. The diaphragm comes off of there like that, with this plate down. Okay, so that's going to stay up there like that. You need to keep them separate. Make sure you know you took them out. And right here, see the screw? You can't really see it. But on my thumb, I'm pushing down a little spring. This little spring is right underneath here. There's a pin, and underneath right here next to my thumb is a float needle. That could also be a cause. If it's sticking, you're not getting fuel into your carburetor. So I'm going to take that out. But be very careful, because if hold this down like my thumb is here over top of your assembly while you take the screw out, and take your thumb off very carefully, because there's a very small spring and you can barely feel it you have in your hand. And if you lose that, you're done for. So I'm going to be very careful and hopefully I don't lose it. Alright, down in there you can still see the needle right here. I took that screw out. I got the screw here, spring, and what it rocked like a rocker assembly, I suppose. When you're going to put this back together, this has a indent on one side, and then a protrusion, I guess, a protrusion, where it comes out the other side, the indent does. That's going to go down to the spring, but we'll get to that later. Now you tip this upside down, your float should come out. Or not your float, your needle should come out. Mine came out just fine, so I know it's not sticking. Another way, I can look here. This camera might not pick it up, but I'll tell you anyway. Let me see. On the very tip of that needle is what you're seeing. It's a little rubber end that should be black. If it's not black, it's going to have an orange mark on it, or if it's orange, it means you're hanging up on something. So, what I do there is I get some WD-40 or PB Blaster here or whatever, shoot down in that hole that the needle goes in, which is the deep dark one, and it should free it up some. If not, I'd recommend just getting a rebuilt carburetor kit. So after that, I got my pretty much empty body here. I'm just going to go ahead and blast this off carburetor cleaner, blast all these pieces of carburetor cleaner, put it back together, and it should fire up just fine. Now I got mine pretty much cleaned out, I'm going to tell you two more things. On this side that you took your primer ball and reed valves off of, right here in the top upper right corner, or whatever corner it is, there's going to be a bigger hole, and it's going to have a little mesh screen in it. You can pull that out, but again, I wouldn't recommend it, just because you can tear it easy. Although, if you get a rebuild kit, that should have one included, so if you tear this taking out, it wouldn't be a problem. Also, these carburetors have jets, a high, like a full throttle jet, which would adjust how it runs at full throttle, and then a low idle jet, which is at idle. I'm not going to take these out because I really don't feel like I need to, but it's also good if you know how to adjust carburetors. Take them out, clean down in their holes, but if you clean everything out fine, and you have a carburetor cleaner and it has one of these straws, which is ideal for this, you're going to want to stick it down at each one of these holes. Watch your eyes. I recommend wearing safety goggles, because it does have some force, and if it gets your eyes, it's not going to be pretty. But what I do, stick it down these holes, give it a blast, it should come out another hole. If it doesn't, after you blast it a few times, it probably doesn't come out another hole, or you're really clogged up. As long as you just get it in there really good and clean it out really good as well. So I should be good after I clean those components up. I'm just going to go ahead and start putting them back together and starting off the needle assembly and working my way up. So I'll show you what it looks like when it's all back together. Don't forget to clean this piece out up here. I forgot to. And also, I got back to you. My reed valves did finally separate from my gasket. The gasket, I left matched up the pattern. The gasket goes up against this, and the reed valves is touching the actual body of the carburetor. So don't forget to clean up between these. Clean this. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like when it's done. Got mine all back together. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to spray around here, in and out of these ports that the carburetor is going to connect to. Clean off your gasket. After that, put it back together. You should be good to go. I also blew out my lines with some carburetor cleaner just to see. Careful, it's going to spray out if you have maybe a bad fuel filter or clogged or whatever. But just blow everything out. You should be good to go. I'll get you a final image all back together with the air cleaner and all in a minute. So here we go. Here we go, guys. All put back together clean. Throttle's hooked up. And gas line's hooked up. Got my air filter back in there. Cleaned out in there and everything. Cleaned up the gasket. This bottom plate right here, I had it on wrong the first time. So that just to go to show. Make sure you have everything on right and ready to go. So hope this helped you clean out your weed whacker or whatever 2-stroke motor. Hopefully it can get you up and running. Thanks for watching.